Hello, my good people, and welcome to the Tenkai Talk. And I happen to be Pookie87, your friendly neighborhood Tenkaichi. Well, it's been an interesting week, interesting 2 weeks since I last done this podcast, and for one, well, nostalgia is coming back. And I don't mean the games I've been doing on my channel either. I'm talking about the NES Mini. And with that, there's something of the Genesis version coming out, or if it's not already out, it would most likely end up being as thus. So, for those who are interested in getting the NES Mini, you are indeed getting a big throwback of the classics. Since plug and play has been around for quite some time, since the early 2000s, I believe. I might be wrong there. I mean, we had a fair share of knockoff plug and plays. Most likely, from what I've seen, are the 108 and 1 for Nintendo. I think I've seen only Nintendo. I've never seen one for Sega, but I think there was a knockoff that did Sega games, which I remember Mag did on his channel once. If you don't know, swing over by Magma WK's channel. He got some weird yet cool shit at the same time on his channel. Yeah, weird and cool, because we're all like that. Anyway, yeah, from what I've seen, there have been like plug and plays for mainly Nintendo, and I think a bit of Sega. But Nintendo has been doing, but I've seen more of Nintendo than that of Sega. I mean, I do remember I saw something like that, very close to um a Sega plug and play, because that's all it is. It's really a plug and play. But since Nintendo is pulling out, an NES Mini, a Nintendo Entertainment System Mini, and it's only 30 games, 30 quality games from the mid 80s to early 90s, I believe. And again, I could be wrong on that. But then again, these are all games we grew up with, so that is awesome in itself. Now, another thing I've heard talk of, and I'm not sure how well it is going, but there is somebody, I can't say who because I don't know all of the source, somebody's actually working on Saturn emulation. They're actually trying to crack the code in which that has been like the number one thing that has been a problem in emulation. Saturn emulation, as well as you know, is kind of a mixed bag. See, not only do you have to download the ISO, I mean not the ISO, you had to download the emulator itself. And the problem was, there was very little to choose from as far as Saturn went. Because you got SSF, I think that's the only one I'm aware of. And, I mean, it's the only one I know of, anyway. I know there are others out there, but I can't remember them offhand. But I do remember SF, I'm going to call it S2F. S2F is one of them. And you had to also download something of a CD-ROM look-alike, as it were. You had to download alcohol 120%, just so it can somehow run the ISOs. Now, I don't know how strange, I don't know how weird is that, but that is just as weird as trying to run, PS2. Because let's face it, the only two emulators I know of that are like to me is really complicated to do is Saturn and PS2. I'm not gonna go into PSP because A, I've never done before, and B, I would need to really just like sit down and see how it's done properly, But other than that, all of those stuff. Pardon me if I've been yawning. I had a day of just relaxing, and I've just been like asleep. I've been asleep since then, and I've been doing a lot lately. A lot of recording, so I've just been doing a mass load recording, and it was taking a lot out of me. Anyway, as I said, most of what I know about is just basically download and run it. So like, I download the emulator, get a few ROMs to try out, and then just run them and see if they work or not. And speaking of games that don't run, or games that do run, or games that try to run, if you kind of notice, or you have noticed, well, on Steam has done it again. You see, recently I bought Batman the Telltale series, and I tried running it. Apparently, I don't know what it is, but for some people it can run, and for some people it can't run. And the funny thing is, Telltale's has been on it since. And the thing is, they have this problem just like Inafune's company, in which, a lot of money has been gone. You remember Mighty Number 9, right? And I had the same issue with Mighty Number 9, that the game couldn't run. I could download it properly. There's no problem with that. But when it comes to running it, I couldn't run it. And it's the same thing with the latest game that I bought from Telltale Games. Batman the Telltale series. It couldn't run because, oh hey, I tried running it and nothing. Now it did show up as like a DirectX thing, but I doubt it's DirectX because my system has updated itself. It always updates itself every so often, so therefore it can't be that. So then I start playing it, play game as normal, because I was going to try and run my test. I was going to run a test video, see if it's going to run by normal means. Like I would have to do capture. Like I would have to do capture recording, like manual capture, just like I'm doing with this. I'm doing manual capture with this. Or if I was going to play it straight as it is, without trying to, make a window, and I could just play it, off the screen, and the game, and the recorder would record off the game screen. Because that's what I usually do before my Let's Plays. It's like I will make 0 parts, and these 0 parts will be like me doing like the beginning of the game without, my voice over it, trying to read it and all that. It's just been one problem after another. Now, what I did do was, this happened earlier. I downloaded Tales from the Borderlands because I did mention in my August LP report that I was either going to do either the following: Batman, Tales from the Borderlands, Back to the Future, or Sam & Max. So I figured, okay, well, until they get that issue fixed with Batman, the Telltale's series, I'm not going to do Batman. Even though it looks good, if it don't run, something's wrong with that. And I noticed that, there are some games that just don't run. And I don't know if it's just because I have Windows 7 or I would need to upgrade, which I do not want to upgrade. I have Windows 7. I'm fine with Windows 7. If it can't run, it just can't run. Or possibly it just needs a lot of patching. I'm talking about the game, not my computer. So going back to emulation. Yeah, emulation has been a thing since ever since JNES and ZSNES and even Kega. And even Magic Engine. And for those who don't know what Magic Engine is a TurboGrafx 16 emulator that you can actually find online. And I actually found mine online because, I did have a demo version at one point, but I wanted to, play most of the games because I missed out on TurboGrafx. It's like I missed out on a few consoles in my life. I missed out on N64, TurboGrafx, N64, most of the PlayStation era, PlayStation 2. I got like a good number of. Sega Saturn. I tried to get what I can from Sega Saturn because Sega Saturn wasn't that big in my area anyway. And Sega Dreamcast, same problem. Not that big in my area. But knowing how emulation now, most are actually doing what needs to be done. I mean, I've seen it at Anime Expo every year. They have they show more and more of these consoles. And this year rather, I saw the family computer, otherwise known as the Famicom. The Famicom, the Super Famicom. The Mega Drive. Most of the imported consoles which we have over here is the NES, the Super Nintendo, and the Genesis. Most of these stores I go to, which is every once a year, they usually have out imports and whatnot. And usually, in the case of this, emulation is a big thing. I mean, you have more and more games coming out, and they're being either translated or just coming out on the internet as is. Now, some aren't ported properly. Like, yes, I heard talk about Marvel Ultimate Alliance and it being on Steam, and it was a terrible port of the console version. And there were only, I believe, three ports of it on console, which was the PlayStation 2, the Xbox 360, and the Wii. Now, I have played Marvel Ultimate Alliance before on PS2 and Xbox 360. Now, I can understand what most people do not like about it when ported over to Steam. Especially in the first game, because there were so many other extra characters that you would have to buy through DLC. There was no DLC for the first game. I waited for like a week because one person that I know was certain this thing just didn't like how it was just ported out. To that defense, I would say that there are a lot of games that pretty much have this problem. And usually the problem with that is most people do not bother, checking all the bugs and everything. They just rush it right out. It's like certain games I could probably mention that pretty much had bugs in it, but nobody ever cared to talk about it because, oh hey, fan base. And they just won't say, well, the problem with this is, yeah, I had no problems with that, this and that, but I didn't see no real problems in it. People, let me tell you something right now. I don't care if there are glitches in a game. You are supposed to report that. You are supposed to report that. And let the people know. Those who develop the game. To let them know, oh hey, there's some glitches in this one. Even if they missed it, you are supposed to tell them. I mean, a friend of mine, Ryu from Breath of Fire, he posted a strange glitch on Tales of Symphonia. It was a weird, I don't know, I think it was a spelling glitch or a spelling error. But he caught that, made a screenshot, and put it to his Steam page. And he pointed this out to me. I said, oh, what? No, I really couldn't read it out, so I'm like, I had this look on my face, I'm like, okay, and this is the PC port? I said, okay, that would either happen if you've been playing a long amount of time to maybe not a long enough time. And I mean, like I said, emulation is a thing. Sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing. Because there's a lot that can be missed when you port some games over and you forget to do the most simplest of things, which is spell check. Now, I don't see nothing wrong with, spell checking, because if you don't catch it, somebody else will. But to developers, if you're making a game and you're porting it over, make sure that if you're going to do this, make sure that when you do this, you actually look at every little thing, every nook and cranny. You check for spelling errors. You check for visual glitches. You make sure that all your bugs are cleared. Make sure that you do that. I mean, I've seen many. seen and played many a game in which I've seen very few graphical errors that didn't somewhat affect the game in some way, as in like made the game just bug out. And what I mean by bug out is in which the game just makes this weird sound and just stops playing. You know, that I mean, I've never, in all my years, played a game in which would just straight out, you know, cut itself off like that or something like that. Just because, you know, some weird glitch is in there, unexplained and whatnot. I mean, I have seen games, I have played games in which there was a glitch, even sometimes caught on camera, but it never affected the whole entirety of the game. And that's what I find funny. That to me, that's what I find really funny. But that's just me. I mean, okay, granted, Ultimate Alliance, it was a great game for its time. But it should have been done a lot better. If you're going to remake it, or if you're going to basically do the following. If you're going to port it over to the PC, then what should have been done was, first off, free of charge, all the characters should have been in it. I kid you not. If you're gonna make a special edition or a limited edition of a game, and the original version had all these characters, but you had to pay money for it. You had to pay like $5 for DLC. That version should have been without cost. You know, the DLC without cost. You have a full version of the game instead of like, well, they have all these. You have this and this and this. You know, they had these characters, and you had your main branch characters, plus you had extra characters, and the extra characters should have been involved with the main game. Now, I will say this: I do like Ultimate Alliance 1. Ultimate Alliance 1 had a better story than Ultimate Alliance 2, because Ultimate Alliance 2 was based off Marvel Civil War, and I'm like, yeah, that was too short. It really was. And I will also say this: just port over the X-Men Legends games. But you know, if you're gonna do all this, please, you know, make all the DLC characters just playable. You're gonna do that, just bring over the X-Men Legend games. Because I've only played one, and was X-Men Legends 1. And mind you that Marvel Heroes is the spiritual successor of Marvel Ultimate Alliance. The only thing is, it just has a wider variety of characters, as well as a longer story that you can play through. And there is a cap to your levels. But still, the beautiful thing about Marvel Heroes is you can play as anybody. You don't have to be limited to just playing as one person. You can play as anybody, so as long as you have either the Infinity Splitters, the Infinity Splitters, Or if you want to, you can just buy a pack and just go with it. And just unlock it on the fly with that pack. I mean, to me, that would make sense. But, you know, as I said, you know, I totally agree. You know, I totally agree that if you're going to port something over, then make sure that everything is polished. I mean, really, really polished. Whatever is kind of, you know, whatever is sort of like dusty, polish that. You know, the music for one. That's the one that's just gonna bring people over. You got the music and your characters, and I mean all the characters, not just the main ones, but all the characters that are included in the games. Now, take for instance, the one game I'm doing on my channel right now is Tales of Symphonia. Tales of Symphonia is based off the console version of the same title, and I had the GameCube version. Now I'm pretty sure there was a PS2 version, but I bought the back in the day the GameCube version of it, and I've beaten the GameCube version of it. Yeah, I take a few bruises and bumps along the way, but hey, that's to be expected in a Tales game. And I also have on my channel Tales of Innocence, which I will also come back to probably once I do a bit of cleaning up, as it were, with certain games I have on said channel. But that's neither here nor there, because that takes time. And I'm trying to get through the list as best as I can at the pace I'm going. But for those who really, really want the NES Mini, you can actually buy it online. Like I'd say, Amazon. I really say Amazon or Best Buy, either one or two. You get 30 good games on there. And I'm really hoping that once the success of the NES Mini comes out, I mean, once they have the success of the NES Mini, they'll do a SNES Mini, in which they would double that, in which you would have, instead of 30, you would have at least 60 games. 60 of the best of Super Nintendo you would ever come across in your life. And there have been plenty. Trust me, there have been plenty that most have come across, and I would say I'm one of those people who are like that. Excuse me. Yes, I stake my claim on that with a nice hearty fist bump to the table. Yes, what else has been happening in the news? Oh yes, Pokemon Go. Now, we all know about Pokemon Go is the greatest thing since sliced bread, but you know what? They've been having problems lately. More than likely, the community is pissed at Niantic, because they're making changes to the game, and of course, nobody likes changes, especially if it's Pokemon Go. But I say changes are good, because if you're a fan of Pokemon Go or a follower of Pokemon Go, then you do know of the hidden charges and everything, right? Because you know, a game of that caliber always has hidden charges, hidden fees, and whatnot. Because, well, it's mainly hearsay, but you can't really. I mean, for me, I don't like Pokemon Go, and I don't see myself having Pokemon Go on my phone. I really don't. I mean, recently, I pre-ordered Pokemon Sun and Moon, and I'm gonna have Pokemon Sun because California. That's the only reason why I would get Pokemon Sun, California. I live in California, so therefore, Sun, Surf, and everything else. Now I heard things are going to be different about this version of Pokemon because they have island challenges and whatnot, and there's going to be a different kinds of Pokemon, of course, aside from the starters, which I've heard too much about. Because I honestly believe those who play Pokemon they just play it too religiously. I'm not talking about shiny hunters either. Because shiny hunters are a different breed of Pokemon gamers. Shiny hunters basically just go for shinies. They don't care nothing else, but they just want to get shinies. And there is like a very tedious method of how they do it. Now, I mentioned this in a part of Pokemon Heart Gold, in which I probably will get back to one of these days. And one is the Masuda method. Now, what certain people do is that they would, I don't know how they would do this, but they would reset a couple times at a certain part. I might be wrong on this, but they reset at a certain part, and when they do, they keep doing it until they run into a shiny Pokemon. And they will have to do the same thing as normal Pokemon trainers would do, or Pokegamers would do, which is basically try to capture it. Now there's new ways you could do that. You could fish for some, Masuda method, or just basically plain out luck. Now, I've been bothered about trying to get shinies. I don't want shinies. I'm fine with just getting at least one legendary. And I'm saying this right now. I'd rather legendaries over getting a shiny. Now, if you're going to get me a shiny, I'm grateful for it. Hell, I have a shiny on Pokemon X. That's a Greninja. And I've taken that Greninja all the way to championship level. And that Greninja has been part of a great team that I made, of my choosing. It's just, trying to get one, it's too tedious. I'd rather have one sent to me. I mean, no offense, but it's just, I just don't have the time to try and grind for a special kind of Pokemon. Now, granted, when I get back to Heart Gold, I will try to show off how to get Ho-Oh. But I will do it the way I've actually learned how to do it, without trying to basically kill it off just because I have a certain moveset. There is a moveset in which there is a certain move you can pull off And it's like a minimalist move in which you can get Ho-Oh without trying so much as to basically beat him. And when I come back to Heart Gold, I'll show it off. Because I've actually done this, and it's all about luck. It's like with legendaries, it's all about luck. Now I'm pretty sure in the earlier games it wasn't that easy to get a legendary. Like it wasn't easy to get Zapdos, Articuno, and Moltres. But I'm pretty sure in the later games you could get the legendaries very easily, like getting Entei, well, I think Latios and Latios, you can get that through a story. But Entei, Raikou, and Suicune. That's what I'm thinking of. Raikou and Suicune. You can easily get them just by simply battling them and just whittling down their health. And pretty much all you can possibly do is try. And I mean try. If you don't have if you have at least one Pokemon with mean look, and try to get them to not run away and not try to kill them, because if you kill them, they're gone. You can't capture them, they're just gone. But as I said before, I'm not big on doing the shiny method. So it's not that it's not that I don't trust the method. It's just I don't have the time or the energy to try and grind for getting a special kind of Pokemon. I'd rather go through the story, save it, save state it, which is called a double save. Save once, save often, and just hope for the best when I get the legendary. Now that's probably one goal I will probably do for every Pokemon game, which is get at least one legendary. And yes, I have used Ho-Oh on my team. So yeah, it's the same thing as getting Xemnas or Xerneas, or I think it's Xerneas. Xerneas from Pokemon X, and Xerneas is the deer. So yeah, I can try to pull that off without trying to beat him down to a pulp. And speaking of which, since I went to GameStop earlier this week, I happen to have on hand just a small pack of Pokemon cards. I mean, this only happens throughout the month of May of this year and August. And if you have not gone to your local GameStop and you haven't pre-ordered Sun and Moon, well, I'm pretty sure because it's 20 years. It's celebrating 20 years, so they gave me 2 cards, and that is for getting Darkrai and Arceus. And the fact of the matter is that sometimes, I go down there, they give me information that I don't even ask for, but they give it to me anyway. So for May, which was from the 1st to the 24th of May, was Darkrai, a level 100 Darkrai, and you got the ability of Bad Dreams, a held item, which is the Enigma Berry, and the moves Dark Void, Ominous Wind, Nightmare, and Faint Attack. And all you had to do was you had to scratch off the back of the card with a coin, put in the coin on either Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, X, or Y, select mystery item, receive gift, and select get with code. Connect to the internet, enter the code, watch while you get Dark Ride and Arceus, speak to delivery girl, and make sure to save. So I might do that right after this podcast. But, you know, like I said, you know, and with and that was with Dark Ride. Now Arceus is through this month. So Arceus is through the 1st to the 24th of August, and it's also level 100, and its ability is multi-type with the moves Judgment, Recover, Hyper Beam, and Perish Song. Now, like I said, I have 2 of these, so I am definitely going to get both of them. And mind you, I'm not a real big Pokemon player, because I only play that in small increments. Because, well, Pokemon does get old really fast. So I play at least maybe an hour, make progress, and then put it down. Put it down for the day. I'm usually playing these days Hyrule Warriors Legends. On adventure mode, no less, because I already finished story mode. But you know, like I said, Pokemon, I'd rather the actual game instead of a bootleg version of Pokemon, which I like to call Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go is just a bootleg. It's not really like a real Pokemon game, because all you're doing is just flicking. You're flicking a Pokeball at something that probably just isn't there, and you couldn't even catch it right. And plus, to me, it's gone to the point in which it's just gotten really silly. You know, I don't mind that the game gets hype. I don't mind if the game gets I don't mind if the game gets, you know, its fair share of its time in the spotlight. But it's the stupidity that I'm just going to ignore. And as a matter of fact, I just ignore the game altogether when it becomes that way. When it becomes that stupid, no, don't want it. So, that's what I did there this week. Just went on to GameStop. Said, oh, hey, I pre-ordered Pokemon. I asked if there was going to be if there were going to be some bonuses. The guy told me that he wasn't sure, but if there were, he'd let me know. And so I gotten myself the 20 year, not two 20 years, yeah, 20 year posters and 2 Dark Ride Arceus cards, free of charge. I mean, it was nice, you know, it was real nice, and I liked it, you know. It's nice because, you know, rarely do I ever get a chance to pre-order something. I mean, my account is like, it hasn't been touched since I lost my phone. What made me lost my phone is since my phone got cut off. And that's because I've been so busy with life that I basically forgot I had a phone to begin with. I mean, that happens, you know. You get so busy that you tend to forget the most simplest things. And a phone is one of them that you tend to forget that you have. So I'm like, oh, well, fancy that. My phone got cut off. Oh, My phone been cut off for like 10 months. But that's okay. The number is still good, so I kept the number around. So I got myself a new phone. So the only thing I'm going to do is just wait until I get that reactivated. And it's a different kind of phone. One in which I should have had to begin with, but hey, nobody thinks about me. So, but yeah, emulation. That, as I said before, game developers, whether you're making a new game or an old one, or well, I should say this: where you're making a new one, if you're making a new one, make sure every part of your game works for every outlet. That means console and PC alike. You make sure everything is checked out. Make sure it runs the way it's supposed to run. Don't have your people get upset because you didn't port it out right, or you left a few bugs in it that makes the game unplayable. I mean, to me, I'm gonna bitch if it's unplayable. I'm not gonna bitch if it's gonna be, you know, on a higher difficulty. I'm not gonna bitch about that. 'Cause see, I mentioned this before when I was reviewing Brawl for the Wii, and I said this before. I'm not gonna bitch on a game which really didn't need to be tweaked because of, you know, these quote unquote imbalances and whatnot. I can say this. No, it's not unbalanced at all. But you shouldn't have to like nerf characters just because, oh, you have an inability to play the game. I mean, if you're bitching and whining about it, that means you have an inability to play the game. I mean, come on. I'm a gamer from the 80s, okay? I happen to know that there are people still whining and bitching about somebody being scored off on Tecmo Bowl and quote-unquote cheating because, oh, hey, they know how to play the game much better than somebody else. You remember them days in which you were playing with either your little brother or someone smaller than you, probably your best friend, and they wondered how you do that, but they accuse you of cheating because you know the game a little better than they do? Yeah, we got that. We got that still in this day and age. But most people are online and go about doing dank ass memes instead of just voicing, oh, I don't know how to play this right. But that's besides the point. There are people who know how to play certain games right. And then there's certain people who like to bitch and whine because they don't know how to play it right. But trial and error. That's all it is. Trial and error. Emulation. I feel that this is going to be a big comeback, a big turnabout. That for some reason, once we see Nintendo making a comeback and Sega making a comeback, because Sega, just like Nintendo, have been real quiet. And that's a good thing to be quiet, because you don't want every person knowing what's going on about what you're doing. Every company has to have their own bit of secrets. And it's best for any company to not reveal what they're working on. It's the same thing with Let's Players. We don't reveal everything that we're going to do. And we don't usually say what we're going to work on next after we've done a game. but usually it's like a 0 part. That's about it. We're just gonna boop, 0 part, boop. There you go. We're just not gonna say when. It's like, oh, here, boop. So you're gonna do that? I'm like, yeah, eventually. And why'd you do that? Teaser. Because sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you want your people to start guessing, when are you going to do it? When are you going to play this game? When are you going to do this game? I'll tell you when I'm ready. So right there and there, when I'm ready. Because as I pointed out, I already finished Mask of the Sun. So, like I said, I'm just going to wait until next week comes in and just post that. Otherwise, the game's otherwise over. All I'm going to do is probably work on something else and finish that. But I feel emulation is the way to go. And if you're going to emulate the best, you might as well just emulate the best. You might as well get the best of the games that you can find, and for that matter, you know, the ones we all grew up with. That's the most important thing. The ones we've all grown up with. Because there are certain games that we all like to make a comeback. Sometimes a reimagining of it just don't do it justice. Sometimes a reboot just don't do it justice. Sometimes you just want to see it as it was back then when you were a kid. And to those who are getting a Nintendo Mini, good for you. No, really good for you. No matter if you're going to get it for yourself or you're going to get it for a relative, that's good. Because this generation does not know about what we grew up with. Or what we had as a kid. What we watched as children. You know, there are a lot of cartoons out there. There are a lot of games that back in the day we grew up with. That we just enjoyed because it was there. It was awesome. Regardless of if we were terrible at it or if we were good at it, the fact is we enjoyed it because it was like that. So I have to say, my friends, if you like what I've been talking about, or you like to share a bit of feedback, or even share your own thoughts about this this subject I've been talking about, please feel free to drop a few lines on this video, and I will be more than likely glad to chat right alongside you, because, oh hey, it's important. So next time, something else. So I'd like to thank you for listening and or watching. And I hope you enjoyed this series. And I will see you again next time on my channel, whatever I plan to show. So with that, take care, have a great, safe weekend. And Senpai's blessings to you, my good people. And Tenkai Musou.